Right then, lads, welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. There's a lot to talk about. Gabriel Jesus is having a bad injury. It's an ACL injury and his season is over. Arsenal are now panicking. We are back in the market to try and find an attacker. We're going to be diving into that news from David on Stein. But of course, I want us to talk about Martin Zubimendi as well. We did talk about Martin Zubimendi on the first channel video. Obviously, Arsenal are signing Zubimendi this summer. So where do we begin? Let's start off with Gabriel Jesus. If you're new to the channel, hit the like button, subscribe. This is the new home of the Kosi Arsenal podcast going forward. So, Gabriel Jesus, probably by now you know, has picked up a long-term ACL injury in his left knee. And that means that he's going to be out for the rest of the season. Bukayo Saka is still out as well. And of course, the likes of Raheem Sterling are not clicking. So Arsenal have to look into the market right about now. But I remember saying this on my old channel when it comes to Gabriel Jesus. He had hit a patch of form, scored 3 against Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup, scored 2, I think, against them in the Premier League, and he was really on fire. And I remember saying that with Gabriel Jesus, that always happens. This is a guy that scores 3 goals in one game in a single year, and then he just disappears like that. Now, of course, it's a big blow because he's the only attacker that is in form that Arsenal have at the moment. Trossard is off form. Martinelli is off form, off form for 2 years. Saka is injured. He was in form. So Gabriel Jesus, of all the available options, he was the only player on form. And him picking up that injury, that ACL injury, that is devastating, really devastating to Mikel Arteta's plans, but also to the plans of Arsenal, because according to David on Stein, it looks like Arsenal wanted to, I would say, just jump over this January transfer window and get into the summer. Now, that is not going to happen. That can't happen because obviously you don't have attackers now. The team is dry. You have Trossard, Martinelli playing on either flank, maybe Havertz and Raheem Sterling. I do not think that an attack of Sterling, Havertz and Martinelli is going to get a single goal against Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, Tottenham really are bad defensively. But if they don't beat Arsenal this time around, then they will never beat us, honestly. That's the truth. So Gabriel Jesus' injury means a lot. One, it means that we've lost the only player in form. It means that we've lost the only forward player, actually, that Mikel Arteta would rely on at the moment, with Saka out of the picture. So what do we have to do? David on Stein says that with that injury, Arsenal are going to go to the market and try and find solutions. Basically, we are looking at loan deals from overseas. We cannot get loan deals from inside the Premier League because we have 2 players on loan from inside the Premier League. That is Neto from Bournemouth and Raheem Sterling from Chelsea. So we've got to look overseas. I've seen Randal Kolomwani available, but Randal Kolomwani could be going to Juventus. We're going to talk about Dusan Vlahovic, very important piece of news from David on Stein as well. But what you have to understand at the moment is that Arsenal are panicking, and do not be surprised for us to either do a very good expensive deal, and in that I'm talking Shesko, I'm talking Nico Williams, I'm talking Isak. Don't be surprised. But also, do not be surprised if Arsenal go and do one of the worst deals in this January transfer window. For me, there is no excuse for Arsenal not to go for Omar Mamouche. There was no excuse. Go in that battle, fight with Manchester City and let Manchester City win. If City win, objectively, then we can say they won. But Kavicha Kvaratskhelia has been available. Omar Mamouche has been available. Kolomwani, I've been singing Kolomwani right from December on the old podcast. He has been available, and we have been non-responsive, typically non-responsive. So who are we going to go for? Now with Gabriel Jesus injured, who are we going to go for? So David on Stein says that Arsenal are now more active and more aware of situations developing on the market than they were. I mean, I remember Mikel Arteta saying, we have Raheem Sterling coming back. We are in a good position. Now you're not in a good position. This is a guy that can no longer run, can no longer take on players. You cannot rely, on Raheem Sterling. Nonetheless, trust him in any situation. So, what is the latest on the attacker situation? So, Onstein says that Arsenal are looking to do an attacker after signing Martin Zubimendi. I'll give you something on the Martin Zubimendi deal a little bit later on in the video. But our focus now is doing an attacker, is signing an attacker. And I particularly think that if you're Arsenal and you check your calendar, I have a brand new calendar right there up there. I think you would be looking to sign an attacker before 20th January. And somehow, I've not done that. Like, we have somehow gone and agreed a hard deal for Martin Zubimendi, right? How? I mean, Omar Mamouche is there for the taking. Frankfurt are willing to negotiate. That is an easier deal. Yes, Manchester City complicates the deal, but that is a deal that you need to do now, right? So, Onstein says they're looking at an attacker, but basically, we might be looking at a loan deal from overseas. Let's start off with Dusan Vlahovic. So, Arsenal saying Dusan Vlahovic is a profile, according to Onstein, is a profile that Arsenal have liked for quite some time. They've tried him before, and it won't come as a surprise if Arsenal go in for Dusan Vlahovic in January. However, it's unlikely that a loan deal will be sanctioned by Juventus. It's unlikely either that Juve will sell in January. And of course, you've got to understand why. They're having a horrible season. Like, I mean, it's not the worst season probably in Juventus by Juventus standards these days, but you get the point. They need to reinforce rather than weaken their squad. So they're bringing in Kolomuani. Will that give us an advantage to go and get Dusan Vlahovic? Probably. Will Dusan Vlahovic finally say, listen, it's not worked out at Juve, but I still believe in myself. I still believe I can go and impact a project like Arsenal's? We wait to see. But what I want to say about Dusan Vlahovic is this. Different profile, very, very different. He's a striker. Actually, I think that's what I should say. The last striker Arsenal had at the club, amazingly, it was Edin Nketiah. Because for me, I cannot categorize Gabriel Jesus as a striker. I'm sorry, I can't. Kai Havertz is not a winger, he's not a midfielder, he's not a striker. He is a ghost player. Players who ghost into spaces, and I think he thrives better when the team is more organized. The way you see Thomas Muller, at Bayern during his prime and during the prime days of Bayern, you have Ribéry, you have Robben, you have either Robert Lewandowski or I think at the time it was Martinez who was leading that line. There you don't have a problem. The likes of Mario Mandzukic up front. Mandzukic scores the goals, or Martinez. Ribéry and Robben score goals and create a lot of chances. So you have this guy in Thomas Muller who just comes in, no one pays attention to him and then scores goals. That is Kai Havertz. I don't think with the chaotic nature of the squad and the team right now, you need a ghost. Like, you need a ghost player. I don't think so. So Dusan Vlahovic coming in would be such a very, very good addition. And I think because it's coming from David Onstein, because it's coming from The Athletic, I think Arsenal are looking there, right? Arsenal are looking there. But can you get him in January? I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised. Yes, it's not worked out at Juve, but I'll be surprised that Juve, who do not have a handful of good attackers these days, are going to let go of Vlahovic in January. I'm not saying it can happen. I'm saying I would be surprised, which means it's a difficult deal. Arsenal also looking at Benjamin Sesko, according to my boy, David Onstein. He says that Sesko is a deal that Arsenal would love to do, but it will be difficult in January. Now, Arsenal are going in all guns blazing in January for a forward. We are looking at a winger and we're looking at a striker, and we want both. which is good. But I think more of that will be plans for the summer. So what I want to believe is Arsenal. I think we are just trying to gamble on the market. We're trying to go for permanent deals, and if they happen, they happen. If they don't happen, then we go for a loan deal. And I'm asking myself, why aren't we shaking the mango tree that Gyökeres is up on? Why aren't we trying to do the Victor Gyökeres deal? Because for me, it's a fantastic deal, really fantastic. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not like a scouting expert, but for me, Victor Gyökeres, apart from his injury record, which is scary, honestly, even if you're not Mikel Arteta, you're afraid of signing another player who's so injury prone. We've already had Jesus, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Calafiori. All those are injury prone players. 4 expensive injury prone players. You don't want to, and Partey, those are 5. You don't want to add another one, right? But I'm thinking, and my thinking is, if you go and get Victor Gyökeres, you unlock Martin Odegaard, this team becomes better. For perspective, with Gabriel Jesus and Saka injured, none of the forwards we have is serviceable to Martin Odegaard. Like, the right wing is dead. For me, totally dead. Martinelli playing there is cringe. It's so cringe, honestly. You look at Trossard playing there, rubbish. Havertz has played there, absolute rubbish, garbage of performances. Raheem Sterling, I don't want to judge this guy even. I don't want to talk about him. Like, I don't want to waste my time. So we're going all in for an attacker. The question is who, right? Nico Williams is wanted. Sami Makpo says that we want a winger and we want a striker, possibly in January. But who, right? Sesko is not available in January, according to Onstein. Vlahovic is not available in January, according to Onstein. So who? That's the question now, right? Mikel Arteta was talking about the transfer window, and he said, listen, we know the profiles that we want. We know what we want to do. Even before the Gabriel Jesus injury, we knew what we wanted to do. Here's a question for Mikel Arteta. Nice one. You know what you want to do, right? You know what you want to do. Why haven't we done anything? Like, yes, we have agreed to sign Martin Zubimendi, but that's not a deal that impacts us, right now. It's a deal that would impact us later, like June, July. Does medicals in July, becomes an Arsenal player, Partey leaves probably, or Jorginho. But it doesn't impact us now. Like it might bring the funds back to the project, but that is like if you count Lokonga and you count Partey and you count Declan Rice, that is like Zubimendi is the 4th DM this project is signing. The 4th. And it's going to cost more than 60 million. So let's talk about Martin Zubimendi anyway. I've brought him onto the table. Let's discuss him. As reported yesterday, Martin Zubimendi has agreed a deal in principle to sign for Arsenal. Arsenal are trying to talk with Real Sociedad. And the reason that's why we want to talk to Sociedad, Arsenal do not want to trigger the release clause as reported by Sami Makpo earlier. Don't get frustrated. Listen to me. The reason as to why we don't want to trigger the release clause is because Arsenal are willing to pay a little bit more than the 60 million euros in order to pay the money in installments. And the reason as to why you want to pay the money in installments is I think Mikel is planning another rebuild next summer. And like, I saw this coming, but I didn't believe myself. Because the rubbish we did in last summer, it's inexplicable. You can't tell me that you needed 2 attackers to make your squad better, but you ended up with Mikel Merino, Sterling on loan, and Ricardo Calafiori. Something was fishy, and Neto. Something was fishy somewhere. So Arsenal are going into a rebuild of a rebuild. Interesting. But the important piece of news is that Arsenal will not be signing Zubimendi by triggering his release clause. We shall be signing him by paying the money in installments, which is not bad. Like contract amortization is something that happens all the time. The good boys, Chelsea do it, Madrid do it, everyone does it. So I don't have a problem with contract amortization. I think that's the part I wanted you to understand with the Martin Zubi deal. It's coming in the summer. We'll talk more about it during the due course of the season. I want to evaluate Partey and Jorginho's performances and see if Martin Zubimendi is the guy. I do not have a computer right now, so I think I'll just get a few strengths and weaknesses and do a video about him. But you've got to understand that Zubimendi is coming to Arsenal in the summer, and Arsenal are focusing on an attacker in January. Do not ask me the names because Arteta says we know who we want. Apparently, we just don't have the speed to work on deals like City do. And with Liverpool, Manchester City, and Chelsea dropping points, we're playing tonight against Tottenham. Maybe that would be an advantage for us to shorten the gap, close the gap to like from 9 points to 7 points. But I don't see us beating Tottenham Hotspur. Apparently this team is like really, really down. Of course, with Ethan Henry injured as well. Anyway, speak to you soon.